Super Tournament. I am Wolf, and I think my mic may not have been on when I was talking initially there, because I think I switched headsets. But welcome back to the GSL Super Tournament. We've got two ZeNEX players battling it out here. Line versus Kyrix, not Coca. I said it. I missaid it earlier. Tell you guys their ZVZ stats. Look at it on my stat sheet I made here. 14% win. I knew one of them was pretty significantly worse than the other in ZVZ. 14% win rate versus Zerg is a line, according to TLPD. 50% for Kyrix. Kyrix ZVZ has been pretty good. His losses have been against great Zergs like Nest-T, so, you know, you can't really... And also, I think he lost to Violet, so losing to Nest-T and Violet were his notable losses in ZVZ. So, if you're losing to Nest-T and Violet, some of the best ZVZ in the world, it's, you know, it's not too bad. It's not, you know, it's like, oh, I only have 50% ZVZ, but I only lost to the best players in the world. Whereas Line has lost to almost everyone he's faced in ZVZ. It's like a 1 in 8 win rate for him. So it's going to be pretty rough for him today, especially because he's playing against his teammate who knows him well. So I think that Kyrix, all he has to do is play safe and play standard or play to his opponent's style. And he should end up being fine. So we're going to take a look at our players now. Here's ZeNEXLine. Now, his GSL ranking is 68. He was in Code A twice, in January and in May. He qualified for both of those, but immediately got knocked back down to Code B. He took out Jinro 2-0, so that's one notable result for him. And actually, I don't know if you guys remember, he played back in Open Season 1. I think he was in Open Season 2 as well. He was really good a while ago, and he never quit, man. He's, you know, he just hasn't improved as much as others have, I think. But he's back. Keeps trying to qualify for Code A, and he's in the Super Tournament here because of all of his results he's had in the past. Just trying to prove himself. There's a shot of him now. It looks like he's trying to get focused, get concentrated. Now, his opponent, Kyrix, though, we'll get a shot of him in a second. I'm going to say, I think he's got a much better chance at today's matches than Line does. Line, you know, he looks a little nervous, and he should, because he's playing against his teammate who he probably knows that he practices with his teammate a lot. He probably knows that he's better, unless results aren't really speaking the truth here. So here's ZeNEXKyrix, a player who needs little introduction. He's been in the GSL for a long time. Most notably, his most notable game was when he played against Marine King, and Marine King was using only Marines against Kyrix's Banelings, and that was like the closest set I think we've ever had. It was on Shakura's Plateau. He's been in the GSL almost forever. He's stayed in Code S, almost fell down, but managed to stay in, so he's going to be in Code S next season. And he's had a lot of results recently, whereas Line has just really not. So Kyrix has a lot of stage experience from recent times, whereas Line is just kind of getting back into being here on camera, being on the GSL, getting in that player booth. He's got much better results. If you're playing, you know, you're against your teammate, and you sit at home and you practice with them all the time, I mean, they may have even practiced with each other for their own match, most likely not, but they know each other's styles well, and if the results are really true, and Kyrix is really significantly better than Line, it's going to be really hard mentally for Line to be ready for this, and Kyrix is just going to kind of play it safe and almost feel like he can do whatever he wants, so his mentality is going to be much better. As you guys can see, 50% win rate there for Kyrix, and in his most recent 2 matches, Line has 0% win rate against Zerg. So, rough for him. He lost to Yu-Gi-Oh, by the way, who I gotta say is not one of the better Zergs out there. He's pretty good, but it's not like he's Nest-T, or as you can see. Losing to Lucira is Kyrix down there at the bottom, and Lucira and Violet, you can see at the bottom of the screen. Pretty awesome Zergs, indeed, that he's lost to in his most recent matches. So, players are getting ready, getting their headsets on. Line itching his chin. Line eliminated Xel'Naga Fortress. Kyrix felt confident on all the maps, did not eliminate any. The first set will be on Crevasse, which can be quite interesting for ZVZ, so I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to turn out. Set 2 is going to be on Crossfire, and Set 3, if it needs to happen, will be on Xel'Naga Caverns. So some pretty interesting maps we've got lined up. Crevasse, a map for ZVZ where you can easily take your hatchery, so we might see both players try to go hatch first. That could turn out to be quite interesting. Sometimes you see later game ZVZ situations on maps like Crevasse, but the countdown has started. Which one of these ZeNEX players will take game 1? Will it be Line, a somewhat up-and-coming player, had some results in the past, or will it be Kyrix, one of the top Zergs out there right now? We'll find out here at the GSL Super Tournament right now.
ZeNEXLine versus ZeNEXKyrix.
All right, down here at the bottom right, we have a player who's not curvy. Some might say he's straight as a 180 degrees.
ZeNEXLine.
ZeNEXLine, there he is. Got to prove himself here today because he's in Code B. It's very difficult to qualify. He's done it several times in the past, but it's getting harder every time. His opponent down here, though, is
ZeNEXKyrix.
player who needs little introduction, as I've said. There he is. That's a familiar face to all of you who've been watching the GSL. He does quite well. No, Kyrix has actually been known to be extremely aggressive at times. He just kind of has his own style where he can play a macro game, he can play a long game, but oftentimes, especially in matches he thinks he's comfortable in, he'll just all-in you like crazy. He'll six-pool you. He'll go for crazy Baneling aggression. He just loves to do that. He's really, really known for his Baneling aggression in ZVT. Both of these players are going to be going gas first. Now, the reason why they may want to be going high hearts to Sean and Jeff there. I don't know exactly what all of that says because I can't read very quickly, but there's a fan in the audience. Maybe a Korean American, I'm not sure. But it's often safe to go for gas and then pool on this map because if your opponent doesn't go hatch first, if he six pools you, even though his map is pretty far, is pretty long rush distance, you can die to a six pool if you go hatch first, and maybe both players expecting their opponent to go for hatchery first, so it's kind of like a mind game situation. If you think your opponent's going to go hatch first, you might want a six pool, and so the opponent's like, well, if you're thinking I'm going hatch first and you're thinking maybe you'll six pool, then I'm not going to go hatch first because I could lose to a six pool. Six pools can be easily defended with if you go hatch first in certain situations on this map. It just kind of comes down to the scouting patterns and things of that nature. So it's kind of chancy. Both players actually stopping mining gas, so just going right up to that ZeNEXLine speed, and they're just going to take the backdoor expansion afterwards. Really, really safe to do on this map. Even if your opponent goes for Banelings on this map, because the natural is so far away and at the back, you kind of just take it and not make your own Baneling nest necessarily. You don't really need to, because you can expect that your opponent's going to take that backdoor expansion as well, and you've got the ramp to help defend. Looks like Kyrix going to sneak by a little bit. Both players know where their opponents are without really scouting because the Overlords did their trademark Overlord kiss as they passed each other. So both players want to know right off the bat, how fast did you take your second hatchery? Did you take your second hatchery? And are you still mining gas? Those are the things they want to know. And if they're lucky, they can maybe try to see a Baneling nest, a Roachmort, anything like that. But a lot more ZeNEXLines have been made for line here. As you can see, Kyrix kind of skimping on it a little bit, not really making that many. And for that reason, he's going to have to make a lot right now to hold this. In fact, he's got 10 ZeNEXLines in production. He's actually started a Baneling nest when he saw his opponent was making this many ZeNEXLines. Now, ZeNEXLine speed is done, but Kyrix is going to have enough ZeNEXLines out to hold this just barely, but he will lose a queen. That's pretty huge. And in fact, he may lose a drone as well. Losing about maybe one or two drones there. Losing that queen pretty huge. So he wanted to just kind of skimp on those ZeNEXLines for a while and drone up. May have paid off for him right now. 15 drones for Kyrix to 13 drones for Line, so he's a little bit ahead in that regard. He's got his hatchery up much faster, and now he's got a lot of speedlings out. In fact, he's going to use some of these speedlings to run in here. Wants to see if his opponent's getting a Roachmore, wants to see if he's mining gas at all, and doesn't really get to see anything. But as is the case, Line is actually no longer mining gas. He may be trying to go for a speedling all-in. If you go for a speedling all-in and your opponent doesn't make Banelings, it can work quite well, because if he's going for Roaches especially, oh, those Banelings, that was a close call. It was a pretty close call indeed. But Line has a ton of ZeNEXLines running into the main base of Kyrix, and he actually doesn't have any Banelings or really any real defense at all to defend this, whereas Kyrix is going to do a little counterattack, but he doesn't have enough ZeNEXLines to do any real damage. This could be bad. Kyrix is going to try to sneak some ZeNEXLines in, though, or some Banelings, rather. But if Line controls his queens properly, he should be fine. As you can see, Kyrix trying to use those Banelings for defense. He does kill a lot of those ZeNEXLines, but there's still more in there, killing so many drones. This is looking pretty good for Line. But actually, back at Line's base, he lost a lot more drones than I thought. He must have taken hits from those Banelings. I can't imagine how that happened. I was looking at Kyrix's base when that happened, and I just can't understand why those banelings would have hit. He had 2 queens at the top of his ramp, and there are 2 banelings coming in. 2 queens, if they target those banelings down, should not be able to kill any drones. So a little bit sloppy there by Line. Now Line going to continue this aggression. But Queen getting in a good spot, just barely, where she can't be surrounded as easily. Kyrix will hold this. Nice baneling. Puts a lot of those Zerglings, but Line actually just going to continue to make more and more Zerglings, trying to run through here. Kyrix keeping his Queen in a good spot where she cannot be surrounded, right in between the spawning pool and the hatchery. Now that Queen getting so many extra hits off, and with 10 drones out for Kyrix to just 4 up Line, it looks like this game may end here pretty soon, as Line is just not killing any drones. He's just making more and more Zerglings, not killing any drones, and eventually Kyrix is just going to overwhelm him with a better economy. Finally, Line decides to go into the backdoor expansion. Get a shot of it in a second. Finally decides to go to the backdoor expansion where a few drones are vulnerable, but he waited so long that Kyrix was already prepared for it. Kyrix starting to take a pretty intense supply lead right now. 16 supply to 11 supply. It's a pretty huge deal though when it's 8 drones to 5 and you have a bigger army than your opponent, especially when you clean up some of these Zerglings out here in the middle of the map. Now Kyrix may actually just make a few more drones and then decide to put on some serious baneling aggression because he knows his opponent, he's basically only going to have Queens and Zerglings to defend. He can't make roaches. He's not going to make roaches for a long time. He's like, I killed almost all your drones. You can't afford roaches. So I'm going to drone up a little bit. As you can see, he's gone up to 12 drones now. And as soon as he gets that drone count up to where he wants it, he's just going to crank out more and more banelings, most likely. Notice he stopped mining gas. He wants to get as many minerals out as he can right now. He doesn't need that gas quite yet. He wants to get as many drones out as he can. Then he'll switch some of those drones over to gas production, then attack with that timing. He's got a lot of Zerglings outside of the main base of Kyrix, as you guys get a shot of now. Even one baneling coming to join the mix. Things are going to get really bad here for Line pretty soon. He does have those Queens blocking the ramp, but when Kyrix comes out with his better economy and just crushes through those rocks if he wants to, or he can just break through those Queens with just a superior Zergling force, it's going to get pretty bad. Alternately, we could see Kyrix just, he knows he's so ahead, he knows his opponent has to invest a lot in defense right now. He could just make a Roach Warren and start playing a longer game because he's got that significant advantage, but I think he's just going to try to end it, most likely. 26 drones out for Kyrix to just 17 of Line. So Line's been trying to drone behind this. He basically has no other choice. He knows if he makes Zerglings only to try to defend, you know, it's not going to work. He's going to have to use those Queens. He's going to have to play a little bit risky here. Those Queens do have a lot of energy stored up as well. And you might be thinking, well, if he stores up all the energy for Transfuse, he sits at the top of his ramp, he's losing Larva Injects. Well, Line's economy is so bad right now, he can't even support all the Larva that those Queens would have been making. So it's kind of working out for him here. Line actually supply blocked right now at 28. He just now started his Overlord, so he is not looking like he is in good shape. Now, Kyrix is actually going to make a Roach Warren, and I like this choice. He sees the Queens are blocking. He's like, if I try to go for a baneling attack, it might not really be cost effective. Let me do something that I know will make me win this game for sure. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Line sending some Zerglings out, trying to scout, trying to see if his opponent is making a lot of banelings outside of his base or not. He's going to see a sizable Zergling force, but he's going to see no banelings. Ooh, is he going to target down this one baneling? That would be pretty huge. No, he's just going to try to run by and scout his opponent's base. He wants to see, did you make a Roach Warren? And he is going to get in here and see it. Most likely he's going to see the lair. The Roach Warren is actually at the back, but he will get in there and see it. Actually, take a look at that vision. Me and the Observer and I just both did the same thing. I like go and click on that very same Overlord and jump back into the base, look at the vision. So that's how vision works. You have to click on something. That was pretty funny. Alright, so right now supply-wise, Kyrix is taking a pretty serious lead. He's 20 supply ahead of Line. He's going to put on a little bit more aggression with these Lings, or at least try to.